Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Shall we just, is it easier if we do sort of tell our names to you, Catherine, than to have you do the roll call?
Okay, let's see.
Mark
Lodi.
Mark?
here.
And
Pete
Pete
Discliffe.
All right, I got it right.
Slowly.
Mary Herman, Beth Waterman, Rob Cruikshank, Bruce. Barry, thank you. Caleb. Frank? Yes. And MJ Reese. And I think that's it.
So I think the only person who's absent is Angel. And Mike
John.
Mike Jaffe?
Yeah, okay. Okay, all right, let's see. Did everyone have a chance to look at the minutes from last month? Are there any changes or additions? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Make that motion.
I move to approve it. I second it.
Okay.
Who approved?
Bruce? And
Bruce approved? Okay.
MJ seconded. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Catherine.
I don't know shorthand.
I know. It's gonna slow down here in a minute. So let's start with you, Caleb. Thank you so much for coming to join us.
Thanks for having me.
And will you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
So I'm a junior at Ontario High School, and thank you. And I am a part of the Eco Club and an active member of Science Olympiad. And I'm really passionate specifically about sustainable communities and the environmental engineering that builds them. And I'm really excited about this opportunity.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your interest.
Thank you.
I look forward to working with you
I do
and
too.
others of your age group.
What's your real interest as far as the environment goes? Is there any particular place that you specialize in?
I'm currently most interested in environmental engineering. Is what I'm looking at. Thank you.
All right, we're doing the membership items, things that the members want to talk about before we get into the real meat of tonight's meeting. So Bruce, you want to talk to us, tell us what's happening this week?
Last summer, I approached Samantha at the Ulster Savings Bank and asked her if we could have a month, where we could display something from the CAC at the bank, because they do something for businesses everywhere. And she said, well, we're kind of booked up, but I'll let you know. And a week ago, she said, oh, there's an opening for January. So we'll set up a table at the bank with all the literature that we have, plus we'll use the banner that we used in the parade to face, to wrap around the table. And it'll be there for the entire month of January. So we'll get some exposure, and I don't know if it qualifies us for points or not, but
Does anybody, I have a couple of suggestions. I would like to kind of get some feedback from the public, maybe have a clipboard and have them write, what if they have interests or questions or things they would like us to be working on. It seems like it's an opportunity for us to get some direct feedback.
okay.
Like, about electric bills or whatever people are concerned with.
I also want to try and get whether it's a recycling bin and one of the composting bins, maybe we can get from our friend that we
James.
might have, get a display on that. If,
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody have a contact with him to see if we can get one to put
Oh,
out
I
there?
do. I can give you his email.
Okay, great. And so we'll put that out there as well. And, you know, as I said, we have all this stuff from Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency that we can put out. I have this plus so many more pieces of handouts that people can just take. So, and we can check in a couple of weeks in and see if we need to replenish anything.
You know, I think it would be nice to have a handout about us.
I was thinking the very same thing. We
Yeah.
should have some kind of a flyer
Yeah.
that people could pick up, even if it's a rack card of some kind that would.
Yeah, if it could say Shandaken CAC, Conservation Advisory Council, list the names of the members, and tell them when our meetings are, and give them the website. That's pretty much what we are all about, yeah?
I was thinking that maybe on our town board, we could also put the CAC meetings, because you have the other meetings listed up on that board outside.
Yes, sure.
I'm hoping before the next meeting, I'll put out on the Phoenicia page, at least, Facebook page, that the CAC meeting is happening, and
Yeah,
they all are
sure,
welcome,
sure,
please
yeah.
do.
I'll get maybe a new board to put right under there to have the time and date to put up, yeah.
So these meetings are open to the general public?
Yeah.
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
definitely.
Okay, I saw no indication of that. So,
Yeah, we're just a regular board, and everything's open, meetings, law, we're open to the
Okay.
public.
It's not
Please
well
come.
publicized.
And that's why
Yeah.
we're here, actually, instead of Zoom room, because of being open to the general.
The handout that we're talking about, is that something we want to have printed, or just a mimeograph? Boy, I'm dating myself.
It's a ditto, it's gonna be a ditto.
I don't even know what a mimeograph is, do you?
Overhead,
Right.
projector.
I used to love the smell of that thing.
Yes, ditto smells good, yeah.
Or a, you know, just a printed sheet that we make up. I think that would be fine, don't you?
I think just something that we can run off.
Yeah.
I mentioned tonight's meeting to Robert Drake, and he's at the Phoenicia Business Association. So perhaps in his absence, because Mark is here, we could ask Mark to take our photo. Because I think, you know, they don't know who we are, you know? People don't recognize who we are, and we could put a little warning maybe. Yeah. I don't care how homespun we look, you know?
What did you have in mind? Like a little
Well-
bit of Photoshop work, or?
No.
Yeah, how young do you want to appear?
Like Caleb.
Color the hair.
Yeah.
Maybe
Blur out
would you
the
be willing to
wrinkles.
take a photo of us just standing up here at the end of the meeting or something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the equipment to do it with me, but next meeting I'd be happy to do that. Very easily done.
Well, we have a phone.
You have a
It's just
phone?
somebody, I don't have my phone with me.
Oh, I have a
Somebody,
phone.
easily done.
Yeah, let's do it with the phone.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
you can forward it to me and I can do the
So
necessary
we'll put the
Photoshop.
photo on the page as well of this pamphlet or this handout that we're going to do.
Just those guys.
I don't know, maybe it'd be a separate thing or something, I don't know.
Well, it would also be good if Angel and
Michael were here.
Michael were here.
I know. Well, let's take the photo and then we can figure out what we do with it.
No one needs to man this
Photoshop 'em
table
in.
at the Ulster
Angel and
Savings. It's just
Michael.
going to be
And
a
one on
table
each
with
end.
I can do
information.
that. We do it all the time. for a while.
I'd like to also, I have believe it or not, a spare EV charger plug that I may just coil up and put on the table as well and have a little blurb about that. And let's see what we can put together before January 1st.
Okay, well,
So
let
is
us
there-
know when you're gonna go and set it up, and I'll be happy to work with you
Great.
on the flyer handout thing or whatever.
We'll do it on January 1st. Oh, well, not January 1st, but, you know, the 2nd maybe.
I'm not even sure the second is
Monday.
it's a Monday, but is that a holiday since the first is on a Sunday?
It probably is.
Yeah,
For the
so
bank.
it might be the
Yeah.
third that we do the second.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Jan,
They have a table there that we could use. I've done something before there with the Playhouse, so they're terrific about helping us set up.
yeah, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to help get the word out, which
Okay.
is a goal of ours. Okay, next is the report that I gave you, which is, you have a copy of this, right? It's a draft, but it's nearly completed. And, you know, this is the result of a few months' work on the part of Robert Drake and me, and with assistance from Melanie Patapas of Hudson Valley Regional Council. And she walked us through, you know, collecting the information, and then this is the final report about what the information says. So did you get a copy there, Rob?
I didn't, but I'm looking.
Oh, okay. So, I guess the pages aren't numbered, but on the page that starts hey, there's Angel. Hi. Come on up.
Yeah, now we do.
As long as you're safe and it wasn't a deer.
I may have violated some traffic. Ready to turn in.
Oh. Angel, do you have a copy of the agenda?
Yeah.
We're just, this is from last month. Yeah. And we're just looking at this greenhouse gas inventory summary report. So this is a draft, and if anybody has any comments in the next few days, after the meeting, if you want to take it and read it, but I'll just walk you through it a little bit. So the first, figure 1, shows the greenhouse gas emissions by function. So you can see that our largest emitter is the vehicle fleet at, well, it doesn't give the percentage there, but it's 64%. And the administrative facilities is the second largest, and that's 19%. And
From burning fuels, fossil fuels, in both cases?
I would
Yes.
think so, yeah.
well, this is the entire, this includes electricity as well.
Okay.
Electricity, diesel, fuel oil for heat, propane.
Gas for
and-
the vehicles, gas, you know, for
Well, the vehicle
elec-
fleet is gas and diesel, gasoline and diesel.
yeah.
The other, but the administrative facilities includes heating oil, and the administrative facilities, the buildings are, I think they're listed in here, I think I typed them out. Yeah. The town hall, the highway department, the Shandaken Museum, the Pine Hill Library, the police department, the recycling center, the ambulance, and the Phoenicia Water Delivery System.
What about the Phoenicia Library?
That is not a town-owned building.
Oh.
So, this is only for government operations, so this is just buildings that are owned by the town.
I don't think I have that page that you have.
I didn't know they owned their own building.
I'll try to get some page numbers in here, it'll make it easier.
You could all write them right now.
Well,
The
yeah.
GHG emissions by function page is what we're on?
Yeah, well, then turn the page. The next part is pretty much boilerplate, you know, and then there's the facilities master list. It tells how the spreadsheet that I put all this data in created the data. Then there's the inventory results. And this is where it shows for the town buildings, how it's broken down. You know, how much the town hall uses versus the museum, the highway department, the library, the police department, recycling, outdoor lighting, and the water department. And you can see the water department is one of the biggest users.
What page are you on?
Page
Uh,
5.
Oh,
And the water department is mostly electricity, I'm assuming.
I believe so, yes. And then on the next page, it's greenhouse gas emissions by source type. Now, this pie chart here is the average cost per fuel. And that is very interesting, I think. It's very hard to read in a black and white copy like this. I don't have a color printer. Anyway, the $60,000, that's electricity. So electricity is the most expensive of our fuel sources, but it is one of the cleaner fuel sources. So you can see the, you know, in the bar chart above, that electricity has lower emissions but higher cost.
because this isn't in color, I think I'm seeing that the fuel oil is $18,005. Is that the, because it's a lighter color gray? I'm trying to figure out what belongs to what. And I'm wondering if the 60,000,
The 60,000 is electricity, I can tell you that.
Natural gas would be almost nil, so that would be down there. right?
Yeah.
Propane is probably pretty low. Maybe propane, fuel oil, gasoline? No, diesel, no, that's, I don't know if you
Yeah.
can see the clockwise or counterclockwise.
Yeah, gasoline and diesel are the other two big ones. Now, on the last page, we talk about opportunities for reducing greenhouse gases for the future, and this is where I'd really like to have you contribute ideas if you have any thoughts. So the purpose of doing this inventory here is to create a baseline so that we can measure it in the future and see if we're, actually reducing our emissions. So they asked for, what we have done already. Well, what we've done already is we've completed all the LED retrofits on streetlights, all 208 Cobra heads. I could put that in there. Now, under town buildings, what are the opportunities to reduce greenhouse gases? So the Pine Hill Library recently had an energy audit. And just before I came to the meeting, she sent me a copy of it. And I haven't had a chance to read it, but I'll send it to everyone. And the results of this audit are being reviewed by the library staff, but they really could use some help in looking at the results of the audit. So depending on what the audit has to say, there may be opportunities to replace the oil furnace with heat pumps and dramatically reduce their emissions if that's feasible. And so similarly, the Shandaken Museum could go through a similar process to review and have an audit done and then see if funding is available or if the town is willing to, make the upgrades. And this is something where I think we could be really helpful because the librarian apparently the audit was done in June and.
Well, I think this would be right up our alley. I mean, this is what
Yeah.
we're here for, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to help people with that kind of
Right,
decision-making and,
yeah, exactly. So perhaps that's something that we want to work
You
with.
might find some help. I think you'd
I
be
would be-
very good at that kind of
Yeah, good,
engineering kind of mind to have that.
Yeah.
ability to see that.
Just
So as I recall, maybe you told us last time, Peter, that energy audits were done for all the town buildings in the last bunch of years?
no,
Or am I imagining that?
no.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the library is the only one. I don't think the museum has had an energy audit.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I remember doing one 15 years ago, but I don't think one has been done since then.
Okay. So as they get done,
Well, first we have to apply to do them.
I'm happy to sort of be a common denominator looking
Yeah,
across
that
to
would be great.
figure out.
So let's start with the library
And
and
when
try
is
to
that?
work through that
Okay.
process.
Yep, and where are we in the process with the library?
We are in the process of reading their energy audit, which I have on my, which
Okay.
arrived just minutes before I left.
So you got a PDF you can send me and I'll take a look and we'll talk.
Definitely.
Okay.
We have a good model to base it on, and that would be the Phoenicia Library, who
Well-
totally redid their building to be energy efficient,
Yes, but the
And-
Phoenicia Library was completely rebuilt.
rebuilt.
And the walls are 13 inches thick. And I don't think the Morton Library, which I believe is on the National Register, is gonna be rebuilt with 13-inch walls, you know?
But let's see the difference.
Yeah.
Let's compare and contrast the two. That's a
Yeah,
good
if we
point.
can get, what I'm saying is if we can get what the footprint of the library in Phoenicia is, there's a goal for us to say, this is where we'd like to be.
Well.
It was 98% lead sufficient. That's
No,
gonna be that's gonna be a high bar to reach.
It's-
And at the
it's-
time, there was only one other library building in the country that was 98% lead sufficient. You probably remember this, and that was Fairbanks, Alaska.
Well, we were the first library in the country to be built to passive house standards. And that's what the Phoenicia Library's claim to fame is. The building regulations and specifications is this set of standards that come from Europe called passive house. And that's why the walls are 13 inches thick, because it's so well insulated and there are no thermal bridges from the outside. There's just really a lot of specialized construction there. And, so I'm not sure that it translates easily to compare to an existing building.
Not easily.
Yeah.
Well, we can have this discussion later, but I think that you can always build from the inside in to increase your distances from
Have you been to the Pine Hill
exterior.
Library?
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
really small.
It's small.
Yeah, well,
But
let's
anyway,
look at
there-
the audit and then consider the opportunities, what possibilities there might be.
And Beth, who does the audits?
Who does the audits?
NYSERDA, for example, is on our homepage at shandaken.us on the very homepage.
Okay.
There's a link there for people in the town that can get an energy audit on their building. As soon as we review the PDF, we'll figure out who did the audit and then see if we can use them to do additional audits in town buildings.
Yeah. Okay. The second, then I just mentioned that the Historical Museum is also a candidate for similar, review. But the town hall is in a little different situation because it's in the floodplain, and currently the town has applied for a feasibility study to consider how it can be adapted to meet the floodplain building requirements. If the feasibility study is approved, the funding for the feasibility study is approved, depending on the results of that study, there might be significant opportunities here to put rooftop solar, heat pumps, and other, triple glazed windows. That's what the Phoenicia Library has, The other kind of, improvements, but we're a few steps away from that point,
Has the grant
just.
been written for the feasibility study?
Yeah, that grant has been written, it's been submitted, and it's pretty much, it will be accepted. The questions we have before proceeding even, things I'm reading is that for a critical facilities, which the town hall is, they're doing, generally floodplain stuff is 2 feet above the base flood elevation. You have to floodproof it. But for a critical facility, it has to be 10 feet above the floodplain elevation. So we have to determine whether we can be floodproof 10 feet above the flood.
Is that from that side of the
That's-
building or that side of the?
No, that's, yeah.
Do we currently have a floodplain manager in place? Oh, Welcome, congratulations.
All right, now I have a question, Pete. The building does have some problems with that. I remember hearing about mold, some mold issues, so
There were some
does it,
mold issues that were taken care of in the lower, on the highway department's secretary's office. But that was cleaned up and
so that, I'm just wondering, because it makes sense that you're gonna bump in money and there's
it's
other
all of
problems,
us,
right, yeah.
Is it worth putting the money?
Right.
And the question of whether we can even flood-proof it 10 feet above the floodplain elevation is, if we can't, then it's not worth putting any more money into it, I don't think. And we also have simultaneously, a grant, and we'll probably get it, to locate other, to find another location for the town hall,
Right.
a better
So
location.
if this building can't be retrofitted, then we'll have to find a new location.
Isn't the
And-
Safari Committee working on that?
Yes,
No resolution so far?
not yet, but it's at the CWC, they're gonna, approve the grants, probably, most likely, and then we'll move forward from there. We'll put out an RFP for company to do the locating.
So if anybody has any other, when you read this, any other suggestions for text, to insert or something, please let me know. Then I talk a little bit about the vehicle fleet. The town is considering the purchase of an electric passenger vehicle for use by town officials and the installation of an electric vehicle charging station. I think we're safe in saying we're considering it, but right now nothing is,
Looking for grants for
Yeah.
charging stations.
okay. And then I just make some statements about the town highway department, that I don't know if they have any kind of fuel management policy, that when they buy a new truck, it has to exceed the, standards of the previous one, and, have lower emissions and higher mileage, gas mileage or something.
I think there's not a policy about that, but
Yeah.
it has been the case where every new year does get a little better mileage and
Yeah,
is a little bit cleaner
okay.
and a lot more expensive.
It would be interesting to know if they do record the mileage year by year, do they?
There's something called, there's a program on the gas dispenser.
Yeah,
And it does a whole, because they have to put in how many miles they went and then how many gallons they get. So the program
So-
figures it all out for each vehicle that gets fuel from that.
that's a fuel management system.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had one, that's terrific.
Yeah, that affects even like the fire trucks, the ambulances.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And police cars?
I'm sorry.
The police cars as well?
The police cars, every town vehicle gets their petroleum from those pumps, and
Oh.
they're on a managed system.
And is there any way of getting an estimate of how many miles a police car does in a day?
Yeah, there's a way to get that number. I mean, they give us a yearly total, but we could get, or actually a monthly total. Each month they give us the totals, so I could get you one of those or all 12 of those totals, and we could figure out how many. It's many miles a day. They go from high hill to Mount.
So I talked to Eric, the highway supervisor, about the possibility of replacing some of his vehicle fleet with electric vehicles. And he said that the electric vehicles now that are heavy equipment, that he has heard the batteries last about an hour. It's not really
What lasts an hour?
batteries
Heavy equipment?
on heavy equipment, like,
Oh, like excavators and things like that?
well, like the fleet that he uses, the snow plows, the And of course, in the winter, the batteries don't do as well either, so. Anyway, he didn't think that he would be able to replace his trucks with electric vehicles at this time,
No, at this time.
until they are a little more,
Although there's hope in the
Develop.
future because Tesla now has a tractor-trailer truck that will go 500 miles on a charge.
okay,
So it's coming down the line.
Yeah.
It's just not here yet.
right. And finally, there may be some opportunities to replace outdoor lighting or indoor illumination with LEDs if they haven't all been,
These are all been replaced,
they've all been replaced?
yeah.
Okay, and there are no, like, spotlights on outside buildings and things like that?
There may be a few that haven't yet been
Yeah.
replaced, but most of them have.
Okay.
We want to replace at the parks.
Yeah,
Some of
at the
bigger
parks,
lights,
right.
They need to be replaced.
Yeah. All right, so I just mentioned, yeah. You think all the indoor illumination has been replaced?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that out. Okay,
Traffic lights aren't costing us very much.
No,
street lights, yeah.
No, traffic lights.
We don't have any traffic.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So this,
Son had to drive without traffic lights.
this report, Robert Drake has already, since I printed this off, put the municipal seal on the cover page and a picture of the eagle on the cover page. So, as soon as we get the text solidified, we're done with this report.
That's great.
And we're 16 points to the good.
That is awesome.
Yay. Yeah. So, it's just the beginning though. Because if you remember from our meeting last month where we looked at all of these things, we have to do the priority items to be certified. So we did this one, but there's another one. It's called the Government Operations Climate Action Plan. So that follows, the completion of this. So that's in our list below. So there was one more thing here I was going to mention, but I think I'll save that for later. The speakers for 2023, the subjects for our meetings and things like that. But I really want to work on setting the goals and the targets for 2023 and figuring out whose interests lie where and how we can divide up into smaller teams and to work on these things together. The compost project, we'll just run down through them and then people can tell me what they think. The compost project, if we get the grant, which we'll find out about in January, and by the way, this is to establish compost collection point here at the town's recycling center where people can drop off their compost, and then it will be taken by a local farmer and composted for use on his farm. He's now expanded his existing composting, Phoenicia compost, to Pine Hill. So he collects there, and the farmer's market has moved there for the week, for the winter. And so it's already growing, and I hope that we can add this, and then it'll be really town-wide. It'll be quite an accomplishment. Yeah. So, but we'll need a little education campaign. I think, people about composting in general and about, and then about the opportunity to drop your food waste here.
Schedule.
Yeah, and I think people really relate to this. I learned that when I sat here for a day or two, I guess it was, talking to people who are coming to the recycling center, because it's so important to them because it's part of their daily lives, they really understand it. They know how much food waste they're creating and where it's going, they know if they can And they know if they put it in the backyard that wildlife just eat it. So, you know, it's a subject that people feel deeply about. So I think maybe some education, but we'll see, we'll talk
I'll
more
take
about
that
that.
on.
Okay, Mary, great. Now, the greenhouse gas government operations climate action plan, that's the thing that follows this. And this is gonna take at least 3 people, and I'll tell you what it's gonna involve. Once a month for 4 months, starting January 30th, meet on Zoom for an hour with a representative of the Hudson Valley Regional Council, who is going to walk us through this process, holding our hand and leading us toward the finish line. I mean, substantial amount of help is available, but it is still a difficult task.
Once a month for how many months?
4 months. So I will be doing that, but I need at least 2 more people to help, you know, because creating a climate action plan is really getting into the nitty-gritty of this. Home energy use / audits. I know, Rob, you know, with this is a big subject, obviously, but publicizing the opportunity to take advantage of the free audits, and maybe, you know, using the Pine Hill Library as a test case, kind of, to see how successful the programs through NYSERDA and so forth can be, would help us to publicize the information. But there are other ways that we can publicize it too.
I agree, and I think maybe Bruce, we can talk offline about the January plan for the bank and maybe include something about the energy audits.
Absolutely.
In the audits, there come recommendations for retrofits. Recall that our low-income residents the audits are free for everybody, but the retrofits in some cases are also free, and for low income, even more of the retrofits are free. And Peter, I'll follow up with you in terms of, you know, what town buildings we think might be good to do. We'll look at the Pine Hill Library for starters.
Yeah.
And then just start to make an inventory of what's been done. Ultimately, we could end up with a little bit of like a, you know, United Way thermometer. What % of the town's residential or commercial buildings have actually completed as a goal to move towards?
Do we have any printed material about this yet, as far as where people can get these free audits?
We have on Shandaken.us on the homepage, there is a link for the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA, as an energy audit link right there. So anybody watching, you could just go to nyserda.org, or you can go to the Shandaken.us to find that. And what we're going to find over the next bunch of months, I've been, in my professional work, been participating in a lot of United States Department of Energy activities with regard to the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act. And there is just a ton of money that's coming out of Washington for private industry as well as for homes. And we'll see it come down into our communities, and it affects the whole community from the point of view of lowering your energy bills, lowering your greenhouse gas footprint, making your homes more comfortable, creating jobs in the community for installers that do this kind of work. You know, whether it's our electricians that get retrained or add to their acumen in order to be able to do that, or plumbers that add to the work that they do for doing heat pump water heaters and other heat pump installations. So it's really, one estimate I saw was that there's going to be about $10,000 per household available for doing things like solar plus storage, heating system retrofits, insulation. And so I think as the months progress through talking with some of the folks, and I'll also check in at the county level what's been happening with regard to the CAC there at the county level. And we'll try to get a plan that we can put together to put more structure to this conversation.
Yeah, the town of Olive, as I know we've mentioned in the past, but just had a public meeting where they brought in a representative from Cornell, actually, who was telling about the NYSERDA program. And that thing has been a little bit restructured, and I think there's a new person there, but that might be something we would consider.
As a speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as a
I agree.
speaker. I mean, it's fine here, and our meetings are televised, but we really need to have it in a location where the public will join us, you know, like the Playhouse or somewhere, you know, some other location, I think.
You can always take the show on the road.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
We can talk and maybe we can get some fact sheet out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Maybe we can get some printed, because they had printed material.
That'd be really good to have at the next.
Yeah.
Okay. And Robert, if you need additional assistance, I'll be willing to help you as well. So.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Angel and Rob will put you on that one. And updating the comprehensive plan. Pete, do you want to talk about that a little bit? When is it going to start? And-
Well, in early January at our reorg meeting, we'll put together the committee. And from there, we'll decide what the best day to meet is. And try and piggyback it with either the planning board meeting or the CAC meeting. Maybe like a right after this meeting, do another meeting. Or maybe they might decide to do it on an independent night all by itself,
Okay.
just so it doesn't go too late.
So MJ wants to work on that.
I'm on it too.
Good. I'm very proud of you both, because they both went to Lula training, which was offered to us, and they come back and look at them. They are charged up to rewrite the comprehensive plan. It's wonderful.
And and everyone got the report from Lula. They had their students go through our comprehensive plan, and they did
I didn't pass that over.
I had asked Joyce to send it to
Oh, okay,
everybody.
great, great.
I didn't get it.
I don't think I got it either.
Well,
Oh, really? I'll double check with her. So they had their students, all the people who participated.
This is Pace University.
Had the students go through our comprehensive plans, and they did, I guess it's a spreadsheet, and they pointed out where there was deficiencies, like, we had this in the plan, but it didn't match up with our zoning laws. So they did a lot of work for us to get our comprehensive plan in line.
Fantastic.
It's a good start.
Yeah, but I had sent it to Joyce and asked her to send it to everybody.
Well, sometimes Joyce just sends things to me, but I
Oh,
don't think
okay.
she did.
Okay.
I don't recall seeing
But
it.
I can send it to you and you can.
Yeah, I'll circulate. Okay, the EV charger. We know that there will be grants, there are grants available, but we need to create a plan for the town. Where to put the chargers, what's feasible, you know, so that when these grants come up, we can be ready.
I would like to be obviously on that, and
Yeah.
Mike Chiaffi, I think,
Okay,
anybody else would like to join up?
yeah.
Yes? Here.
Oh, hi, Robert. The natural resource inventory. This is something that was also available in the future. It may be a little bit down the list from some of these other items, but are you interested in
I
that?
am interested.
Yeah,
It
okay.
seems like a task that
Yeah,
is beyond
Well suited for you.
completion, but,
Yeah.
well, it's suited to me, but it's,
okay.
it seems almost insurmountable, but I am interested.
Well, there were grant opportunities in September, but they were for our community to work with another community.
Right.
So what we need to do is to approach the other community and see if they're likely to want to do it, and then we'll be ready to apply.
Columbia County did a extremely comprehensive environmental review of Columbia County. I think this was maybe about 4 years ago. I'm extremely familiar with it because my wife designed all the printed material. And I mean, this was so detailed, I mean, extensive maps of like soil types, percolation rates, every single dragonfly in the county, every single salamander in the county, every single water drainage, every single species of grass. I mean, extremely detailed, and it was financed by Hudsonia.
By who?
Hudsonia. Yeah, so I don't know, something
Well, it
like.
was conducted by Hudsonia, it was financed by somebody else. Hudsonia.
No, I think it was financed by Hudsonia and conducted by several other, but we'll check that, I don't
Well,
remember. but
Ulster County is doing a natural resource
They
inventory.
are, okay.
So that's underway. And so that, again, we have to mesh with what they're doing and,
And the other thing is when we did the scenic byway, were you on the committee probably? There was extensive, you may recall, there was extensive cataloging of our natural resources
Right.
during there, and I probably have some of that kicking around in my hard drive somewhere if we could revive that.
The
Well-
dusty corner in our rooms will have that whole information.
yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Carol would have that too.
Carol Seitz?
No, Carol, from
Byrne.
Western County, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. There's quite an extensive effort back then to do that for the scenic byway.
Outreach, engage with the public. I think actually that's not a separate category, but it's something that we have to integrate into all of these efforts, you know, but it's something that I want to really try to focus on so that we can be a little more visible. Solar installation and community choice aggregation.
I would recommend that we take the energy use audits above and, kind of make a general energy section and kind of include that.
Okay.
I agree.
Great.
Certainly from a resiliency standpoint, I just came back from Vermont. I came back today. And, we were in a home in Wyndham near Londonderry, and we were without power for 60 hours. And when I checked, thinking, it'll come on in a day, and, I kind of went and checked about a day and a half into it. They had 1,000 outages in Vermont that Green Mountain Power was working on. And, they were knocking off a couple of hundred a day, but, still. So it makes us think very hard about, what do we need storage for? What do we need resilience for? What do we do if we have that kind of a storm that we've never seen before?
Yeah.
And how do we prepare for it, energy-wise, health-wise?
Combine that with what?
Take the solar installations, community choice aggregation, and put it up under or along with a larger category with home energy use and audits. We'll just say energy use and production or something like that. And we can go home and town buildings, commercial, residential, how you get it, how you use it, how you store it, how you're resilient if it fails. It doesn't probably work for everybody to have a standby generator. It's just not practical, the cost of it.
Right.
But you can start looking at which parts of the community have outages more than others. There's data available for that, so you can start, trying to ask the utilities or help point the utilities in directions that make sure that the dollars are spent in such a way that we've got energy equity, and there's not certain portions that are, getting clobbered more than others, or more likely to get clobbered than others, in terms of losing power for long periods of time.
And
I mean, every time there's an outage of that magnitude that lasts that long, people die. And so it's just very important that we try to use our resources to stay ahead of that as much as possible.
We don't have to look far for those examples. Last year in February, not so much in this area, but Woodstock, Kingston had the worst ice
The
storm
ice storms, yeah.
that the power company had ever experienced in there. And I think people were out, again, 60, 72, 4 or 5 days.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's upon us.
right. So pollinator pathway, the last one, I'm not sure that that's in our framework. Apparently, the scenic byway did this 2 years ago, I learned. They gave out seeds and, tried to create pollinator pathway, and it wasn't very, well, I think people kind of took them home and planted them or something, but, I mean, it wasn't a big effort. It didn't create a visible,
Can't the highway, can't that be something that the highway people could pick
Well, if you notice down by the DOT yard.
Yeah, DOT has done one in.
Yeah, that was through New York State.
They mowed it, you can't mow. You're supposed to leave the.
Well, they mowed it and then they planted.
No, it's been
something.
mowed since
Oh, it's
at the
been
end
mowed.
of the season.
Oh, is it?
And you're
That's
supposed
funny.
to leave the plants up for
Oh,
the
that's funny.
overwintering critters. But again, I never went
know
and,
that. Huh.
and tried to identify what was there, but it looked like nothing
Well,
I would
It was
consider
like,
a
it was like dictated from New York State,
it looked like
you know, they said.
foxgrass.
They
That's
told
all
them
it
all
looked
to
like to
do
me
this,
from
yeah.
driving by.
Yeah.
Okay,
But Pine Hill Community Center
Yes.
is doing a pollinator
Yes.
garden in their backyard.
But
So I think it's
and
on
did-
people's,
the library did one.
yeah, I think it's
And
on
the
people's
Phoenicia Library
radars.
did one, yeah.
So we could do like a flyer on it though.
Be part
Yeah.
of your outreach program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Fold it in there.
You know, Woodstock Land Conservancy has a really active pollinator pathway program. And Woodstock Land Conservancy's service area includes part of Shandaken. So we might be able to get some help from them on that. It might be something to have them come and talk to us sometime and invite them to a meeting. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Instead of starting a project ourselves. I'll invite Woodstock Land Conservancy to come talk about
Good idea.
pollinator pathway.
Emco's set up something too in front of
Yeah,
it.
they
There's a
And maybe we can get people to come and maybe we can do it in the spring when the plants
Yeah, we
come.
did a resolution when Marilyn Manos Jones, who did Kenco's, she came here and we did a resolution a couple of years ago back in doing pollinator gardens.
So I think that, you know, all of us can help with all of these different efforts. If we get the grant, the compost project will activate first, probably. I do need a couple people to work with me on the greenhouse gas government operations climate action plan, which is also a priority, and the completion of this plan will kick us into certification mode, I think.
And
So
this
this
is the Zoom meetings that start on January 30th.
30th, yeah.
What day of the week is it?
January 30th, I think it's a Monday, but I don't recall.
And it'll meet every month from that Monday.
Yes,
I would certainly be interested in the climate action plan and
okay.
helping in any way.
And what
January
else?
30th is also a Monday.
Oh, okay, January 1st.
Yeah. Can't do it on Monday?
Not Mondays, I'm sorry. But keep me in mind as a backup to help out with something.
Yeah,
They're meeting once a month or 4 months?
once
or-
a month, yeah. Angel, can you help?
I can help.
Okay, good.
And Caleb said he don't know.
And I got Caleb, yeah. That's great. Anybody else?
If
Wanna
there's an
help?
energy component to that, just call me in for that, please.
Sure.
I'll see if I can do, I have a random meeting at 8 o'clock every day, so every Monday. So-
Well, the Zoom meeting probably wouldn't be at 8 o'clock at night, would it? Or maybe
Oh, no,
it
it's
would
at
be.
noon,
Oh,
12
okay,
o'clock.
no, I can do that.
Oh, great, okay, super. We have a team.
So Beth, we're setting up subcommittees basically.
Yeah, teams or subcommittees, but it's not really, I mean, it's still fluid, you know, if, you know, Rob wants to do an event, we'll all pitch in and,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
But as far as coordinating and establishing what we're doing, we need to meet as small groups.
Yes, and,
Rather than meet as one large group and, you know, try, you know, for instance, you know, Rob, Caleb, me, and, Mike will be on one committee. We would probably need to meet once during the month separately
Yeah.
to coordinate what we need to do. So I think all of these,
what committee are you gonna
we're
be
talking
on?
about the EV charging installation.
Is Caleb on that
Also,
too?
I'm helping with the home energy use audits, which now includes solar installations.
Yeah, okay,
So, you know, if you're on two committees, you
Yeah.
need to expect to be meeting two different times.
yeah.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are we determining who's doing what now, or are we going to do that at the next meeting so that lots
I
of...
think we've got it.
I think we have it too.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go much beyond this.
And then
Angel.
are we reporting back to the chair after we meet in our subgroups then prior to, or at the next?
At the next
CAC
meeting, you can
meeting, we
report back.
to the chair, to
Yeah.
the, okay,
We'll have reports from all these
activities.
activities, yeah.
So for the Energy Committee, let's do this. I'll get the report from the Library Energy Audit from you, Beth. I'll distribute it to Angel, to Bruce, to Caleb. We'll have at least an email conversation.
Okay.
And then either talk in person or be prepared when we come back to
We
have.
could do a Zoom too, we
Could
can,
even
our own
Zoom.
Zoom.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'm just wondering what the structure was, that's all.
Well, I don't know what, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's not my strong point.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, and when do we start that structure? We start after tonight, and
Yeah.
that's fine with me, and, you know, we just need to know, so
Yeah.
that we,
After tonight. And so we'll report back. Our group of greenhouse gas climate action plan won't have a report because our first meeting will be January 30th, which will be after. But then we'll have reports after our next meeting. Our next meeting is actually scheduled for Martin Luther King Day. Is that a problem for anyone?
I'm not gonna be here.
16.
Not a problem.
Okay.
That's not a problem for me, I don't think.
Okay, well, I'm sorry you won't be here, but
What's the date?
I
It's
understand.
the 16th.
I'd rather stick with it on the 16th than try to find another date.
Yeah, it's a holiday, so.
Same with,
Is this building gonna be open?
Yeah.
It's a holiday?
I got a letter. I attended one meeting of the Town of Olive, CAC, and I met these people over there. They're terrific. So, one of them is named Simon Strauss, and he is on the board of Mid-Hudson Energy Transition, CCA, Community Choice Aggregation, which was selected by the city of Kingston to administer its CCA. And he would be delighted to meet with us in person or virtually to discuss CCA. I myself am a board member and treasurer, and we are the local not-for-profit that has expertise in this area. 3 of the other board members, of whom Marcy Cleland is also the acting executive director, are copied on this email. Then he gives me a bunch of websites about community choice aggregation. There are going to be virtual public meetings, dates are in the press release, open to the public, where the CCA will be explained to city residents who register and listen in. So he is willing to come and talk to us about this. Is this something that you would like to, a speaker for upcoming meeting? Yeah,
I wonder if you could also piggyback whatever he talks about, that could be open to the Phoenicia residents as well, just to get an idea of what is CAC meetings all about, or is that not worth it?
open to what?
Piggyback onto it, so what you can do is you can say, this guy is presenting,
Yeah,
that could count as outreach for us if we let people in the Phoenicia area know on our website, this person is speaking about CAC.
CCA.
CCA.
Why just Phoenicia? Why not the whole town?
Oh, the whole town, sorry, the whole
Yeah.
Shandaken, that's what I meant.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, definitely.
Just to give a little context, this may be helpful. So off of the NYSERDA website, New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, Community Choice Aggregation, CCA, is a program that allows cities, counties, and other qualifying governmental entities available within the service areas of investor-owned utilities, that means like Central Hudson or New York State Electric and Gas, to purchase and/or generate electricity for their residents and businesses. So it would be very interesting to hear what they have to say, and I'm happy to help facilitate the conversation if you like.
Well, I thought I would see if you can come to our next meeting
Okay?
as a speaker.
Mhm.
if that's of interest to people.
Sure.
Sure.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, all right. Let's see if he can come. So that's pretty much,
Mike, the RC also said that he would like to come back.
okay, and what was he gonna talk about?
He was gonna talk about EV charging and also, because they were waiting for some new regulations to come through, he suggested we wait until after the first of the year, so
Okay,
we're there.
yeah, we're almost there. Okay, would you like to have him first, or
Doesn't
Simon?
matter.
Okay. I'll invite Simon Strauss, and then we can do Michael in February, and see if there any other, maybe Woodstock Land Conservancy, pollinator pathways. But I think we'll have, or home energy audits, you know, we'll have no shortage of possible speakers and topics.
Yep, yep. I think to energy audits, we can even add retrofits and, folks that do solar installations, solar plus storage installations, et cetera.
You know, I think for the first, however many months we've been in operation, a lot of it was getting up to speed and gathering information, and now we actually have teams and we have projects, and inviting speakers to come is maybe not as productive as it was originally, you know. But I'm not saying that it isn't, it's just if we need the time
I
to talk
think we
about
need to
what,
reach out to those people and say, here's what we're working on, can you help us out?
yeah.
And then
Well, maybe you'd like to reach out to Darcy
I'll definitely reach out to them.
and see if he has the EV,
and new information
EV
for us as far as
info.
funding and things like
Yeah,
that.
funding and, you know, what kinds of background information we need to have to get started with EV charging.
Can I just, Peter, just a question. You had mentioned, I believe, at the last meeting, the meeting before that, the town leases the parish field.
Yes.
So, and what is that, 99 acres?
Yes.
It is. So, is that available to us to put in, for instance, EV chargers on that property?
Yes, I believe it is, yeah.
Okay.
Well, there you go. You solved the problem.
I also know that Nature Conservancy is speaking with the parish about perhaps buying that property,
Okay.
and keeping it for a while, just to.
Right. But how would that affect the lease?
I don't think it'll affect us at all, in the lease at all.
And I don't think the Nature Conservancy would be opposed to EV chargers.
I doubt they will.
The other property I'm wondering about is Marty's old pharmacy lot was at one point managed by the town,
We leased it for parking, right?
and is it still
It
leased?
isn't currently. I think the lease went up, like right after the new owner bought it, and he didn't wanna renew it.
Okay.
But we can have that conversation, possibly. Maybe if we put an EV charger on there, he might wanna renew that lease.
Yep. And the third one would be, I'm gonna forget about Declan's property, but Mike Riccadella has a large parking lot in the back of his place. That I'll have a conversation with him about that and see if he's willing. We need to work out the details about who's paying for what and what, all of that. But I just wanted, before this next month goes by when we're having our meetings, I wanted to have some areas where we could
And
focus on.
I need to speak with somebody at NICEAG, because if we could put these like next to a utility pole or near a utility pole, could we feed them just from the utility pole, or does it need special power?
I'll find that out.
Other than that?
Yeah, I can find that out. Yeah. I think it's always convenient to be near a pole, but it doesn't necessarily, we'll
Okay.
work on it. Okay?
So this question's come up before, but
Go ahead.
If it did feed from a pole, then that would possibly open up the chance of having street parking with EVs. And that, I think, could also be really useful, instead of having it be in a parking lot, to have street parking, especially in crowded towns that don't have as many situations where you'd stay in a parking lot for an extended period of time. But having it be on a pole can make it more easily accessible.
Okay, all right. Yeah, the thing you would have to put in is a utility, a service utility circuit breaker box.
Right.
Which would feed 60 amps of service to each one of the chargers. We're talking about level 2 chargers here, not level 3. And so, yeah, I was just wondering if
What I'm
those,
saying is it could power off of, because the town pays for the town lights, it can just be charged right to the town. It wouldn't have to be attached to another commercial business.
and is the town paying a flat rate for electricity?
No.
Okay. You are billed, you are metered like everyone
We're
else?
metered like everyone else, and depending on the circumstance, I don't know if some of you may or may not know this, but commercial establishments are billed higher than everybody, regular residences, and we're billed as a commercial. And there's something called demand,
Yeah.
and that's how they almost double the residential rate. And on most instances, that's how we're charged. The lighting may not be that high, but buildings and the lights for the ball field and that kind of thing, yeah.
Demand charges end up being a big part of the bill, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Managing demand becomes important.
yeah.
And so, do you get night rates? In other words,
I don't think NICEAG works in night rates.
they do.
They do?
Yeah. They have a different charging, rate, they charge differently, I think after 11 PM to about 7 AM.
Yeah.
Low demand periods of time, it's less expensive to buy electricity.
Well, for my restaurant, early on, years ago, when I called NICEAG about night rates, because everywhere else they did night rates, NICEAG told me then, but this was 30 years ago or so, oh no, we don't do night rates. And maybe it was because of
Commercial.
application.
I think it probably was, yeah. Sure, because commercial operations use their freezers or whatever.
But we're getting on to a really important point, which is variable pricing for electricity. Is we're paying flat rate at home, and that's all we think about for the most part. But variable pricing is becoming more and more commonplace. California has required all investor-owned utilities and the larger municipals, so you're covering like 70–80% of the population of California. As of March, end of March, they have to start publishing a day-ahead variable hourly rate. And they've got to put those pieces in place so that people can say, oh, I want to use energy when it's cheaper versus, more expensive.
Right.
The challenge we run into when you back up to the country level is there's 3,500 utilities, 50 different regulatory bodies from each of the states, and already 55,000 different electric rates. So we'll be picking through that, but we will see this variable pricing become more commonplace, which allows us to use automation to go for cleaner hours when there's less greenhouse gas emission, go for cheaper hours when we'll pay less on our bill.
And NICEAG is now, because I just had a conversation with them on the phone, introducing smart metering.
Yeah.
They're replacing all the meters, and this is something the town should know about, and the citizens should know about. If you opt out of the smart meter, you could be charged a fee every month for having your old meter. And the advantage of these new smart meters is that if your power goes out, they know immediately that the power went out in your home. They also don't have to send a truck out for billing to read the meters. Those meters are automatically read. There's a whole list of real advantages of having this smart meter installed. So, and also it will be able to enable you to have the night rate and day rate for electricity. So. It's all moving in the right direction, but we expanded past my question, but it's okay. That's good.
Angel.
I wanted to piggyback off something, Bruce, 2 meetings ago, right, when there was the discussion about the purchase of clean energy, that could be purchased, and then using the infrastructure of like NICEAG, right, to buy that. And there was a bunch of flyers. I don't know if that ever got any more traction. I mean, I took a bunch of the flyers, I dropped them out to the community center. I don't know, I didn't follow up to see whether anyone signed
This
up.
was the
The
solar
solar, correct.
initiative,
Correct.
that you could.
Solarize Ulster.
Solarize Ulster, which you can sign up into.
Correct, correct.
It became a bit of a nightmare for NICEAG because they were very behind the 8 ball in billing, and it really made a mess of their billing. I can tell you personally, there was a real mess of the billing, but they've since straightened it out, and yeah, it's a program where you will actually receive money back onto your bill for being part of this initiative. Yeah.
And maybe that might be part of the audit as well, that if you're using electricity, then part of that using clean energy as part of that sort of whole plan. You know, that might also be.
Yeah, and I think when we have a CCA speaker, we should be bringing that up to say, how does this fit in with community choice aggregation as well?
Right.
Beth, just as a cautionary tale, demand pricing for electricity sounds like a great idea, and it is when it works. But we have the example of Houston. 2 winters ago, was it, when they had a really, really bad cold snap? So everybody was heating through electricity, demand went way up, and many people's electricity bills went from like $50 a month to $500 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a radical. So there are those fluctuations that we
Was
made.
that with Central Hudson? I don't know if that.
No, that was, I'm seeing Houston, Texas.
In Houston.
Houston, Texas. Texas
Houston,
adopted
Texas, when Texas had the
price by demand like a couple of years ago, and everybody thought it was a great idea as long as the weather stays. But when we have these extreme, which we will be having more of.
Yeah, I
coming
mean,
up.
they're worried about a cold snap in Texas this week coming up as well. And Hurricane Uri with the cold snap in February 2021 where, 200 to 800 people died. That they actually outlawed the use of some of those charges because people got so gouged.
Yeah.
Again, there's 50 different regulatory bodies doing different things, and it's important to watch what they're doing, what works and doesn't work.
Yeah, I know the Texas legislature launched a huge investigation to see what the hell happened. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
it
not a
was their
perfect system,
fault to
but
begin with.
Oh, Texas utility in general was horrible.
well, you said it.
All right, you guys. I think that's enough.
This doesn't get broadcast in Texas, too.
Thank you all very, very much for all you've done this year. I think, I really feel like we're off to a really good start here, and we've had a lot of support from the town and from others as well through training, and, I feel really encouraged as we move forward. I believe at the January meeting, everybody has to be sworn in again, is that correct?
Yes, everybody should, yeah, you should go see Joyce and get your
Okay.
certification, swear.
So is there a paper, I know there's a paper you can take and have it notarized or something, I don't know.
Just get something from
Joyce is a notary.
Joyce is, well, if you go to Joyce, it's fine, but if you, for some reason you can't, yeah.
Anybody in town hall is a notary, isn't that correct?
Yeah, all the girls in Joyce's office and Amy in my office.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we can do in the next year.
Great.
Well, Beth, thank you for your excellent leadership.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
appreciate you.
And the cookies.
Yeah, let's have more cookies. All right, the meeting is adjourned officially. Yeah, let's, Robert, do you have a camera with you?